Okay, so December 27th of 2022, there's that ham. We're going into happy hour now. However, I don't think I'm going to upload this today, and I'm just going to carry on with the video until such time I feel like I want to deal with converting it over, and right, because basically what I'm going to do here, people, is I'm going to open it up, start cutting it. I'm going to cut off the fat. I'm going to put it in its own bowl because I'm going to render it, okay? I'm going to render it, and I'm going to jar it up, and I'm going to freeze it. That's what I'm going to do because it's really, 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 really tasty, right? And I'm not going to be wasteful and throw out perfectly good fat, especially when it's tasty, right? In terms of like a bacon fat or that type of thing, right? Because it's got the hickory in it, right? And then I'm just cutting up the meat, and I'm putting them into jars, and I'm putting straight up boiled water, nothing more, nothing less. And I'm canning them like that in quart-sized jars for 90 minutes. And I should, it's hard to say, I might only get 3 because these types of hams are pretty fatty. But it would be nice if I could get 4 jars, and then the 2 cases go downstairs and I can put them away. Either or, 3 to 4 jars. And then I'll tally up approximately how much everything costed, including the jars, and then we'll divide it by, I guess, 24 meals and a few of the miscellaneous fats and whatever in the freezer, right, that came as a result of this, okay? So yeah, hold on. So, the bone, I'll cook it up later, and I'll make a small pot of pea soup. That's for later, just enough for a day or two, right? Basically, all the animal fat that I'm going to render, okay? And then basically the meat with probably a bit of animal fat on there because I can't see everything and it's very hard to get it off, right? Now, I could put this in here quickly, just heat it up and just kind of stir it around to melt off a bit of the fat, but I don't want to release the juices from inside the meat. So I'd have to do it on a medium high just to kind of score it, right? Just enough to, you know, melt off some of the outside. And only for a few minutes, just enough, right? Otherwise you're going to start losing all your juice, and I don't want to do that. This, though, I will definitely render in this, which is a cast iron. So hold on. Okay, so that's like half a ham. All right? Mostly animal fat. To which, the way I'm going to do this is, obviously I'm going to do it on the stove. You can see that. I don't want to put it in the oven, right? It's for what it's worth right now. And start it on low, as you know. It doesn't need any water because there's already enough meat pieces in there that it's going to give off some of its own water once it starts heating up a bit in there. And then I'm debating whether it depends on how it responds. I may do it this way. I may do it that way. I may do it that way. Either or, as it's rendering, I am definitely going to take, like, I don't want all the liquid, not the fat, but the liquid to evaporate. Right? If I put it into the oven and I render it in a traditional sense, per se, or even in a crock pot for that matter, you know, you're going to get a lot of the water, the liquid, evaporating into the air, and then eventually all you have left is the grease. But, you know, hams like this, they're tasty. So, you know, after you render and everything's melted, and, you know, and you put and you strain, and then you put it in the fridge, and it gets hard, and at the bottom you've got that gelatin. Well, I want to keep that gelatin, that's what I'm trying to say. So we'll just see how it goes. Hold on. Okay, so whatever's going on here isn't taking very long to do it. Right? Now, any, I guess you could say, broth, liquid, not fat, but liquid, I could probably put that in with that bone when that time comes. You don't want to overcook the fat. So when it starts going like this, I'd start straining it. It's going to separate itself anyway, and you can use the liquid for cooking. You could make rice with it. You could put it in soup, whatever. I'm just saying. Okay. Now, whether that's all just liquid or whether there's fat in there, I don't know. It looks kind of fatty, don't you think? To some degree. But we know it's going to separate. You see, that's the thing. And the more you get this off, eventually you're going to be able to make crackling with everything that's in there. Right? I'm just showing you. Why would you want to throw out $8 after it's all said and done? Or even if you were to put that at $5. That ham itself was $22. I'll be lucky to get 4 jars of ham and a ham bone. Okay? And then most people would just throw this away, right? Okay. So now it is December 28th of 2022. Going into my happy hour here. I got 4 jars left. I'm hoping I can fill them all up with this ham. But in the meantime, what I did, took off as much fat as I could, chopped them up into little pieces as if I was going to render it in the oven, right? Put it in here, cooked it for a while, then did that. You can see what's going on in there. Oops, sorry, wandering eye. I can't really see myself, but besides that point. This is the crackling, only I probably should have cooked it a bit more, but that's okay. I've been actually eating it. It's quite good. So far, nothing has gone to waste in this ham. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to take the fat, put it in here. I'm going to get some jars, melt it. That's it. Put it in the jars, let it solidify again, and then I'm going to freeze them because this is from ham with hickory. So I don't know, it's just better, safer if I freeze it, and then when I want hickory grease, then I know where it is. So there. You can see the gelatin, right? Easy to take off. So, look at that. That is good. I'll probably put that in the soup. Look how that just folded up. So nice. I'll just put it in there for now. And that's the straight up grease. Look at this. Honestly, I don't even have to melt it. I can just fold it up into little pieces and wrap it up. Like that. Look at that. See? And, what do you call it? Put it in a bag and label it. Or I can put them in smaller pieces, smaller bags. Like, little sandwich bags. Right? That much at a time, so you have for 2 meals or 1 meal, depending on how many people you're cooking for frying eggs and all that stuff. And it's already pre-seasoned. You see, that's the thing. If you cooked it in a roasting pan, this ham, in a traditional sense, right, with pineapple and all that, all this would have been thrown out. Whereas these days, you might want to keep it. So that's like 3 different meals. I think that's what I'm going to do. Versus melting it, I'm just going to wrap them up in individual packages, and I'm going to label the bag hickory pork fat, and that's 3 meals with fried eggs or fried potatoes or whatever it is that you're frying. I want to mention here, when I'm watching BitChute and just other channels and whatever, right? Whether on YouTube, BitChute, you get more of a unbiased, you know, presentation. Whereas in YouTube, you get they kick you out, and after they beat you up and everything else that they do to you. So anyway, I came across this video, and it showed, I don't remember who it was done by. And it showed, actually it might even been Laura Lynn. Yeah, I do watch her videos, people, even though I don't necessarily like her because I think she's somewhat fake, right? Because she's, you know, she's too selective with what she reports on, you know, and I think there's an ulterior motive in there because she's that middle class that has something to gain to keep those below a certain income level locked into that manufactured poverty, to which illegal organ harvesting would be one of them, because there's only so many kind of different people that buy organs on the black market, okay? Is she buying organs on the black market? No. Does she cover it up? Yes. Unless, of course, we're talking about China and the Uyghurs and the Muslims in China. But when it's close to home, no, she's not going to talk about it because she wouldn't blow the cover for her friends who have money, who can afford to buy organs, okay? It's not just the Punjabis doing it, people. So in the meantime, she had some little clip. This is pure lard. This is nice. Where I'm pretty sure it was on one of her videos. And it was about a food bank in Ontario someplace just recently doing a little interview with some news reporter, I don't know who it was, that was talking on about how people are going to the food bank in Canada, on the East Coast in Ontario, could very well be happening out here on the West Coast in British Columbia, Canada. I wouldn't be surprised, where they're asking the coordinators of the food bank if they know how to if they know how to help the client to sign up to that assisted suicide program, because they can't deal with the hardships that they're facing while being in poverty in today's age, with what's going on with the economy, the housing market, the corruption within the housing market, with the influx of millions of freaking immigrants that take over communities, basically take our houses away from us, you know, bring crime to us, right? Just whatever, people. You know, just get the federal, provincial, and municipal subsidies. Well, many of us don't, right? Especially in the United States of America. That's a big thing going on in the States right now. And, you know, just whatever, right? You know, they bring racism with them, and, you know, and it's easy for the government to, like, for example, I'll just give you another example, people. We've had something like 28 doctors die in the last year, suddenly, that sudden adult death syndrome crap, since you know what came out, right? And this is about 28 doctors that have been documented right across Canada in the last year, okay, or whatever, right, have suddenly died. Nobody knows why, blah, 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 for the most part, right? There's one or two in there that, you know, maybe the doctor had an issue or whatever, and they're blaming that. But for the most part, you know, it's all suspect. Just like with kids, something like 23 kids have died in the last 6 months in Canada, suddenly between the ages of 3 and, you know, like that age group, 3 to 7, 8, 9, and then you're getting up into the teenagers, a whole bunch of them just suddenly dying, healthy kids, right? Okay, so what am I trying to say here? Oh boy. these eye drops are just, I don't know. They're not that great for me. So anyway, I seen that video where, you know, the news reporter was doing commentary with the coordinator of the food bank, and the food bank operator confirmed that a lot of clients are now coming asking for that assisted suicide program and how they can sign up to it. And the food bank coordinator is saying, well, I'm just a food, you know, we just give you food hampers. We don't direct you to go kill yourself. That's not what we're here for. And so that particular news outlet took it to, I guess, Trudeau, confronted him on it. And the only thing he had to say was, oh, well, you know, it's very sad to hear. And, you know, I'm doing my best to help. Yeah, whatever, people. Like, the world is pathetic. Like, so fucking pathetic. So if you find yourself doing stuff like this, don't be ashamed. You know, you have to think about when the world was in war eons ago, the Great Depression. You even have to think as far back as the pioneer days, when people were coming in on the wagons and, you know, setting down roots wherever those roots are, right? That's what's going to be like for a lot of us if we're going to survive. It's like you have to settle for, you know, just like I'm doing with these buckets over here, right? I don't know if you can see them. Yeah, you can see them, right? Those buckets. Anyway, you have to wean yourself away from quote-unquote processed foods. Yes, they're convenient. Yes, they're tasty. Okay? Just whatever. But at the end of the day, you're not going to survive on them. You can survive on this more than you can survive on a box of crackers, a box of cereal, a box of this and a box of that, and a box, right? So, I mean, if you got lots of money, I suppose it just doesn't matter, because when the world goes, the world goes. No amount of money is going to be able to save you, right? And yeah, maybe you can go bury yourself in some bunker that's, you know, 50 feet down in the ground, but who knows when you're going to be able to poke your head back up after the shit hits the fan on the surface of the earth, right? And that's assuming that you can even make it into your bunker before, you know, right? Because you don't know when it's coming, unless, of course, you've got inside sources. Now, yeah, sure, the rich, they get the inside sources. They know when it's coming. They can go hide out in their bunker, right? And then hope that one day they can poke their heads up out of their bunker, and all of us will be gone. All the decomposing bodies will be gone, and, you know, the foliage will be back, and the birds will be singing, and life will be grand. I highly doubt that will happen. So for many of us, I mean, Trudeau himself said, oh, it's sad. I'm doing what I can to help. That is the joke of the century, people. First of all, I did my Zoom on that dude a long time ago. You know how I like to do my Zooms looking for this shit. Okay? He's one of them. He was born into the position that he was put in. Okay? He's just a puppet to whatever else is instigating the calamity that we're all facing to one degree, because there's issues over there, freaking issues over there, you know, just one after another, to the point where it wears down people. And then, you know, when you get feeling scared or whatever it is, you know, the first thing that, oh, I don't want to live no more, and, you know, it'd just be easier if I died. And this is what the government wants you to feel. They want you to do it. And if they can manipulate you through their handlers to go off and kill other people, they'll do that too. Okay. To which makes me think about these kids that are dying, and these teenagers that are dying. suddenly, only within the last year, since our government has rolled out experimental inoculations, basically, right? Just from what I know, what they did with MAiD's body, people, you know, I don't care whether you want to hear it or not, but they're doing something with these dead bodies. That's why they need them. That's why they go out of their way to create them. And they like young women because they're full of eggs. They can't clone and manufacture their part human robotoids or whatever the hell it is that they do in these labs that taxpayers pay for and choose to ignore. You know, they need an egg. They need a human egg. So don't be surprised that these young people are dying. And as for children now coming up in the ranks, they're saying it's related to a flu or a bacteria all of a sudden out of the blue. That's why we've got little 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds suddenly dying. As the people that are investigating this stuff are trying to get, you know, freedom of information records when it comes to coroner reports and lab tests, as just to cross-reference what's being told to them through government agencies that's not necessarily giving out the whole story. So people are left speculating, right? But there is no speculation with the number of deaths soon after the experimental inoculation came in. And being that we're dealing with medical, I guess tyranny, I don't know what it is. And we've seen it with MAiD, we've seen it with Uncle John, but we really seen it with MAiD, people. Okay, once this is all done and out of here, I'm going back in, and I'm going to remind everybody of what we're looking at when it comes to that orifice plug in her mouth. When it comes to those tubes that were running with the same color going through all of them, that was because they were doing something underneath the skin to make it look like it was alive. I can prove that because they have their little pads under her face, people. Under her skin, people. This is what exposure brings to the surface. Through density. Right? This is why they don't care that these kids are dying. Because young people's bodies rejuvenate faster. Has anyone ever stopped to think about that? Their DNA cells are designed to heal much faster than an adult. So, in this way, I give Laura Lynn credit for bringing it to the attention of those that like to know what's out there in the real world, not in fake YouTube land. Because there's a lot of fakery on YouTube. Then, yeah, now they need to ask why. It's because they want the bodies of the young people so they can carry on with their experiments, whatever it is that they're doing at that time, to see how the skin can rejuvenate itself after the individual is dead, just like they were doing with MAiD. Because I do believe that they make skin suits out of our dead bodies for whatever it is that they're creating in a lab, trying to perpetrate as a human being. It's hard to fake skin, okay, on their robotoids or whatever, even on their freaking synthetics. So just keep that in mind. Okay? This is beyond a death culture. Right? This prime minister that we have, who should be in a he's just like a kid in a sandbox with his toys. Little plastic bucket with a little shovel, his little car, you know. Right? That's his level of intelligence. Oh, well, I'm real sad that people want to sign up to kill themselves, but that's okay. Don't worry. I'm trying to help. I made it legal. Yeah, you're trying to help my ass. That's why you're going to bring in another 2 million freaking immigrants, right? And before they push out their kind, they're going to push out and continue to push out my kind. Okay? And if you look at all those doctors, oh yeah, I wanted to say this too. If you look at all those doctors, right, and children who are dying, the majority of them are Caucasian. Go figure. Not all of them, but a good majority of them are. And even if they're not, you know, it's easy for them to bring in another another million immigrants, unqualified immigrants at that. Immigrants that come in with their falsified certificates to say that they went to this school, and this school, so that the government can say, oh, well, yeah, we'll just put you over here so that you could pretend to be a doctor. Yeah. So they don't care if doctors die, the ones that are here now, in the now, because it's easy to replace them. And they're going to bring in doctors that aren't real doctors that are going to do what they're told. And the numbers of death are going to continue. The numbers of people lining up, not at the food bank, but at let me kill me centers, are going to get longer. Right? As you've got Trudeau in the sandbox playing with his toys. Basically saying, yeah, let me help you. So it's really sad, people. You know, it's just, it's so unnecessary. I'm not saying we can't have immigrants come to the country and, you know, get with the program and all this other stuff, but that program was removed a long time ago. And, I don't know. I really do think you're going to have to, you know, like, unless you're rich or you think you're rich. I mean, look, for what it's worth, that's 3 meals, people. And look how small that is. It just goes in the freezer now, individually wrapped. Like, absolutely nothing is going to waste on this ham. Absolutely nothing. This gelatin I'm going to put in the fridge, and when I'm ready to cook the bone, I'm going to cook it with the bone. And then I'm going to just make a nice little pea soup. Not a very big pot, just a small pot. This crackling, some of it can go in the soup, right? But honestly, I'm eating most of it. Right? Because you got a little bit of the skin, fair amount of meat on these things. And I don't mind eating fat. Especially this kind. Right? I like it. Why do you think I stay so healthy? For the most part. When do you ever really see me get sick? Sir, I'm tired. It's hard to move around with my eyes like this now. That makes me tired. Especially with these eye drops. But you don't ever see me hardly ever get sick. In all the years I've been doing videos, I got sick. Once. And that was the week before Uncle John was medically kidnapped. And I slept for a week, people. Well, Uncle John stood here, kept an eye on the house, and watched Andre for me. And then I woke up, and I said, gee, John, I think I better go get the car on the road, because if you get sick, it's not anything you want. So I walked off, shaking. And the next day, or whatever it was, shaking to the car insurance company. I got the car insurance. John was fine. And then 2 days later, I don't know, I'm getting loopy because of, you know, he had pneumonia, right? And with his age, he got loopy and he was drinking coffee all the time, right? Because I was sleeping and watching Andre and watching the kids and whatever. But I guess he got a little dehydrated. And that's what made him go loopy. And he got that temporary delirium because of his age. But I didn't know any of this. I just knew he was something wrong. And because I slept for a week, I didn't want him in the house sleeping and dying on me. So I did the right thing and discussed it with John. He agreed, go non-emergency to the hospital, only because he was loopy. And I didn't want, again, him to whatever. And then they medically kidnapped John. And stole his money, stole his family, stole his life, and basically killed him. And they got away with it. Because the government protects them. By hiring on crooked judges, if they're even judges, people, and bribing them to falsify records, twist things around, as they send in their clowns, coming here for something, not because they're supposed to do, something, is because they're looking to get something for themselves, another reward, a bonus, whatever it is, pass it on to their friends. There's a lot of people can't cope with that shit. Never mind having to go out into the grocery store to have $200 in your pocket and come back with 3 bags of groceries. As they're being kicked out of their residence by corrupt property owners that are looking to exploit immigrants coming in with their subsidies to mask over the criminal activity as they launder body parts, including bodysuits. So if the numbers of children keep dying at the rate that they're dying, is because they want to experiment with the body of a young person with whatever it was that they were doing with Shimei's body. And they want to remove the legitimate doctors from society and replace them with fake doctors, because I've seen those too, people. Or unqualified doctors that come from different countries and will do anything to stay here, including commit crimes. So, really, your only reprieve from all of that is death. But the thing is, you don't want to wish it anytime soon, because when it comes, it comes. Poof. You're gone. Nothing moves except you. Everything else stays behind. So, it feels like a lifetime when you're struggling. Whether you can see well or whether you can't, it doesn't matter. So find your happy hour. See? I put hickory, so I know. This will fry up some eggs, potatoes. You can use it in rice. Do you see? This stuff is good. No, so good. What? Anyway, I can't think about other people starving and wanting to commit suicide because they can't cope with it. It just hurts. It hurts me. Right? Because, I put 22 years into a foundation that could have prevented those thoughts and feelings and those situations. But our governments are corrupt. That's not what they want. And then I'm going to take the same pot that I rendered that stuff in, and the ham that I have, I figured this is the way I'm going to do it. I'm just going to put it into this pot quickly and just saute it real fast just to burn off a little bit, melt off, not burn off, but just to melt off just a little bit of grease. I don't want it to release its juices though. So I don't even know if that's a good idea, right? And if I do it, I'm only going to do it for about 3 or 4 minutes. Not just enough to, get it going a little bit, maybe. I don't know. because I want the juice, that juice in the jar, right? Like, honestly, I could melt this. I could melt it and then put a bit of water in here and use that when I fill up my jars, and it will be even more tastier. Because we're making comfort food here, right? So the richer that you can make this, the more comfort you're going to get when you open it. That's true. So maybe I'll use that for that. But I just want to skim off a bit of the grease, right? So anyway, I can't can this right now, because if I can it right now, I have to stand here for basically 90 minutes. And you know, since Amari's had these seizures, oh man, you don't know. I'm like a bloody bag of nerves. Because he's what, had 3 of them? The last 2 were traumatic. Well, I suppose the first one too. But it's hard. Because you never know. You see, that's the thing. You just heard him playing. I could go back in 5 minutes and who knows, he could be in seizure mode and have all that drama start up all over again. Not the drama with the Mari, but the drama with the paramedics, the drama with the hospital staff, and whoever else they're connected to. And then it trickles over into other whatever. And I'm not the one that injured Mari at the time of his birth. But everybody mistreats me over it. Instead of seeking the truth, they want to settle for a lie and attack the victim. Yeah. This is so good. Like, you don't know. Okay, so I'm going to do this ham now. I want to get on with it, right? So there's that bone, which I will cook up later after this is done. This is the meat, but I'm going to put it in here now. I washed this, and I'm just going to heat it up and just move it around for a few minutes just to cook off some of the, I guess you could say, fat that's on the outside, right? Just a little bit, okay? And then I'm going to fill up, I've got 4 jars here. I don't know if I'll get 4 jars. I might. And I'm just going to use plain water and nothing else in the canner for 90 minutes. Hold on. Okay. Gosh, so buggy, man. It's like when I rest, and if I rest too long, is this medication making me tired of people? Like, I don't know. It doesn't help with my eyes over a stove all the time either, right? As you can see, I'm just kind of, first of all, I'm warming up the ham, right? Because I got cold ham going into jars with hot water, which has the potential to crack the jar. So you kind of want to warm it up a little bit, right? Did she follow you?
What does it look like?
I guess she did, eh? How far did you have to go before you called her?
Like, just like, you know, like, just like right when you get outside?
Yeah?
Just like that.
Yeah?
Just that black toy box.
Okay, that's good.
I just want to light the light outside.
No, not now. Just leave it. I don't want, no, it's too stressful. It's clean. Just leave it. Okay, I will be downstairs figuring out where to put it. I told you where I'm having it in mind. Okay, so basically I'm just warming this up a little bit here. I'm not even,
Can I go ask Jim then if he can play Fortnite with me?
yeah, I don't want nobody over though.
Okay, I'll be right back there, okay?
Yeah.
This catch is full. But I'm only have to stay.
She's probably hungry. Anyway, yeah, I don't
You
think...
know the rails?
I got a camera going. Okay? I don't think I'm gonna get 4 jars out of this. No. I don't think so.
Could unfold in the next year. Here's one of the predictions. Civil War will break out in the U.S.
But we'll get what we can.
In a list of wild predictions, California and Texas becoming independent states. As a
Yeah,
result,
eyes are worse
Mexico
today.
will form an allied state. That's
Some days they're better, other days they're worse.
Elon
Yeah,
Musk
okay.
will win the presidential
But I'm having a hard time
number of states
with this,
which have
trying to, you know, be on schedule with my eye drops because my sleeping is
Of course,
just
that's ignoring the law that you've got to be natural born to be president.
not good.
President Medvedev went on to say
No.
Xi
Anyway,
will have a response to this.
life is just an adventure.
Vladimir
Won't be long
current president, but Medvedev was
before you're gone.
in between a few years where Putin got office.
And there'll be somebody else
Former Russian
to take your
president
place.
supported the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Didn't only make surprising predictions about the U.S.
But this people asking to commit suicide at the food bank, that's pretty pathetic, people. You know?
Within the European Union,
So, I had this Kennedy pub call me up again, right? Because of this, you know, what happened with Amari's toys,
the euro is toppling on the
or
edge.
lack thereof,
Predictions isn't
or whatever. Anyway, I explained to them what happened and how it happened and why I even mentioned it and blah blah blah.
encompass the territory of Germany
And then, yeah, I only get 3 jars out of this.
Baltic states, Czechia,
And,
Slovakia, the Kiev Republic, and other outcasts. War will break out between France and the Fourth Reich. Europe
And then I
will
asked her
Poland,
about,
repatriated in the process, he said.
you know, doing a fundraiser, right?
Ireland will end up
Uh,
in the UK.
It's one of those things where the door gets slammed in your face
Also widely claimed, allowed
because
that the stock market in the US and Europe
people that do this kind of stuff,
assessing that the
in terms of
International
like
Monetary
what the
Fund
Christmas
will
hamper
would
through the pub, and
bring an end to
she
the
said
US
that they
dollar
already do,
fiat currencies and be actively used
they
instead.
already
Must appear to enjoy the outlandish
do something every week.
10-tweet-long
Just hold on a minute, I've got to go wash my hands.
called it an epic
So basically she said that they're busy already with meat draws, 50-50, they have trivia night, they have bingo night. 6 nights a week they're doing something for,
we're just
you know,
society go completely
charity.
insane is what we're witnessing.
right? They run their 50-50s, right? They do their meat draws, you know, they do it throughout the year. Every night they're doing something different.
We all know why that
So they don't need to do anything, right? They don't want to do a fashion show, none of that crap. Because they're already booked and busy. So, there you go. And this is the issue.
All of that is going out the window.
This is the issue.
Now, this happens in cycles throughout history.
And I told this to the lady too, right? You know,
When you pull back from the
that's the issue I used to have when I used to, you know, be more proactive
part of a larger plan,
with the foundation, right? You know, you go and
we're crashing, so
you
therefore
ask,
accelerate the crash.
doesn't matter what the business is or
But I don't
whatever,
see it
there's
crash.
always
I
50
see
other
it
people
making
in
the crash
line
worse.
either wanting a donation from the business, and you're number 51, so you're never gonna get it. Or, you know, they already do something to rescue cats or whatever it is that they do. Cats is a big one. People like to do things for cats. So, you know, and just whatever. And I said, well, it's okay. I understand. Been there, done that. You know all about it.
Does not get you ahead.
I'm glad that you do it. I told her that I really appreciate what they've done for my family and not to worry about Amari, right? Because, you know, Amari is fine. And that they wouldn't have known what his spectrum was with the cerebral palsy. And it's not their fault, right? And that, you know, I'm in my happy hour with the meat. And we chow down on the box of cookies. And, you know, and obviously Andre's real happy about his bike. But, of course, I'm stressed out because there's a thief in the neighborhood, you know. Quite possibly more than one, right? And she says, yeah, it's really bad out there, you know, people stealing this, stealing that, and, you know, and it's really unfortunate, and blah, blah, and blah. So there you go. I don't have to dig up no paperwork, none of that crap. Today is what, 28th of December? I did not re-register the federal trademark in the United States of America. So that's gone off to the wayside. I can't believe that I did any of that for 22 years. Dug into my own pocket, went into debt 40 grand. I'm still in 40 grand. Right? But I guess that's just life, you know. You don't know until you try things. And 40 grand is a drop in the bucket compared to what, quote unquote, a lot of businesses are losing by going bankrupt. Right? So, you know, you gotta see it like that. You don't see it as a failure per se. As you're not the only quote unquote business that went bankrupt because of politics, right? In terms of just how that manufacturer poverty is derived, right? And some of us are locked into it. Even if we try and work our way out, we can't. That's just the way life is. Because we live in a corrupt society that is very overly competitive and self-serving, right? So I still have the Canadian federal trademark. I'm good to 25 before I have to re-register that one. But with my eyes and everything, and at the rate things are going, and with the economy going the way it is, and with people going to the food bank wanting to sign up to kill themselves as they're at the food bank, like literally people, and the Prime Minister is saying, well, you know, I'd like to help. I'm doing the best I can, but oh well, it's a sad story. As he brings in, like I say, millions of immigrants that are taking up all the housing, taking up a lot of resources. I wouldn't say all the resources, but a lot of resources, because if you go to the Christmas Bureau and you go to their toy center, what you're going to find is a lot of Muslims from different countries, from Iran, from Syria, from Afghanistan, and now you've got another 10,000 Ukrainians coming in, and the government's taking their money and investing it into those people as they're targeting families like mine, people, and then covering it up through the courthouses. So I told that woman, like, you know, on the phone, I told her, I said, well, you know, a lot of bad things have happened to me. Turn this off for me.
Let's first go back to this great Mike Adams article that came out in July of last year, and it links right to the New England Medical Journal that hides it deep in the study that 82% of pregnant women who got vaccinated for COVID during the first...
Oh, I never used that. Okay, move. I'm on doing a video. My video's on.
I'll get pour a bowl of cereal.
Well, just don't get in my way right now, okay?
I'm gonna pour right here.
So, wait till I'm done this and get it in the counter, then you can get it. It'll be a little counter space. Okay, so, what was I saying? Yeah, I told her, like, and you know, and for me, with the foundation, it's even harder because it's so much scandal around it. Like, even today, with Julian's sister, with her tagging of New Nations Unity, and, You know, her fucking stalking crap, right? You know, like I said, people, it's not just online, okay? Anyway, you think she'd learn by now? It's not gonna get her anywhere. She's just digging her grave deeper and deeper. That's all she's doing. And she's ruining it for a lifetime. Plain and simple. But besides that point, because I am a justice warrior, people. You see, and that's what I told that woman on the phone today. I said, you know, for all the scandal and bullshit that I didn't say bullshit, but for all the scandal with my daughters being murdered, you know, I filed lawsuits, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, I have a YouTube channel. I fight for justice and, you know, well, it's almost like I have to resolve to just being a justice warrior. And really, because to go out and to ask people to help me with the foundation isn't going to be any more easier than it's never been. It's never been easy because people are, you know, like the Punjabis. They like to help the Punjabis, you know. They didn't care about what I was doing, okay? They just didn't, people, because they have their own culture. Same thing with the Chinese that come out here. And now we've got a whole bunch of rich Chinese, even more rich Chinese flooding out of China to get away from the CCP, right? And their restrictions, and they're coming to Canada. And we already got rich Chinese out here, people. Why do you think we've got illegal organ harvesting? Between the Punjabis and the Chinese and the corrupt Eleanor Gildings that roam the hospital halls after being in a position of authority when it comes to, you know, management positions within the Parliament building, you know, the province of British Columbia, Canada, and their immunization program because of seniority, you know, senior union seniority, you know, and that's a Catholic. Like, you know, so what? It's freaking Chinese, Punjabis, and Catholics mixed in with a few Iranians and United Emirates, crooked doctors, and just the whole 9 yards, right? You know, like, you can't compete with that. And then when you go just from door to door, from business to business to business, small businesses just barely hanging on, or, you know, they've been in existence for so long, but they're already connected to this organization. They already support that organization. They already do those, you know, types of fundraisers like the Kennedy Pub. You know, they've got their 50-50s. They got their meat draws. They got their bingo night. They got their trivia night. There was, like she said, every night they're busy. They don't have no time, no room to fit anything else. And you go from pub to pub to pub, right? With the need getting greater and greater, with people giving less and less, as they're going now to the food bank asking to sign up to kill themselves. Like the world is fucked. Like completely fucked. So if I couldn't make it then in the better days, digging in $40,000 deep, doing all this work, frying out my freaking eyes, working on paperwork, working on freaking websites, sending shit off in the mail, you know, sitting in front of freaking politicians, whatever it is that I did over a period of 22 years, if I couldn't make it then, I'm sure in the hell not gonna make it now, people. You know, so I don't know what to think. All I know is that through it all, I ended up becoming really a justice warrior because of the murder of my children, because of the medical kidnapping of Uncle John, because of the birth injury at the time of Amari's birth due to medical negligence and malfeasance, okay, with the intent to sign him up into a research study because he was just a throwaway child, because he wasn't the right color, and he came from a poor, quote-unquote, family, and nobody was gonna miss him. Well, yeah, I'm a fucking justice warrior now. But through that brought me scandal. And it basically wiped out the foundation, to which is what the government of British Columbia, Canada wanted. Because they want to control the politics. They want to control the money flow. They want to continue with their poverty pimping and their manufacturing of poverty. And they got people exactly where they want them, lining up at the food bank, asking to fucking be murdered. It's one thing being murdered, it's another thing asking to be murdered. But they literally got people now going to the food bank saying, well, will you please murder me? Sign me up with that assisted suicide because life is just too hard. Sure, you're going to give me a little bit of food in a food box, but it's not going to be enough to pay my bills. It's not going to be enough to make a roof over my head because we've got all these immigrants moving in, getting all these freaking benefits left, right, and the center, being, buying up all the property when they're not buying up all the property because they're buying up all the property. And what, you think they want us in the fucking property? No, they don't, because all you do is look at my family to see the reality around that shit. So whatever, am I upset? Yeah, well, who likes to take $40,000 when you don't have money and you're a poor person and just throw it in the fucking garbage because you live in a shithole country with false dreams, basically. Oh, what a great happy hour, eh? And I'm like, well, these people at the Kennedy pub, obviously, it doesn't bother them. They're partying every night, and if they're not doing bingo, they're doing raffles. If they're not doing that, they've got a meat draw. If they're not doing that, they've got something else going. So, how am I so disconnected here? How did I get such a short end of the stick? Because they're not going to help me to prevent people from killing themselves or asking the government to kill them. Because that's what we've come to in the last 22 years. Because the government didn't want my foundation to be successful, where we had food and food security within the country. Because the government is hell-bent, I don't care what government, federal, provincial, fucking territorial, doesn't matter, right, is hell-bent in bankrupting, I don't know, 85% of the general population, well, the other, 15% is sitting up in some pub, oblivious to what's around them? Because they're just doing the same old that they've been doing the same old all these years? And it's just routine, business as usual, because basically they're just trying to hang on and do the right thing, and they're one of the more luckier ones that they're able to do it. But for people like me, fucking forget it. Forget it. We're the victims to it, people. And you're either going to, and one or two things are going to happen when you become the victim. A perpetual victim, because that's what's happened to my family. You're either going to go to the food bank, or maybe you're going to go to the Christmas Bureau, and you're going to ask them if they can help you to sign up to kill yourself, because you just can't fucking cope. Because once you eat the food that they gave you, there's going to be nothing left. Okay? Or you're going to see life as an adventure. And you're just going to grow into being a justice warrior and accept your lot in life and fuck the government. Fuck the Attorney General and their bullshit crap lies in terms of they protect the government. They protect the public, I should say. Fuck them and everything that they fucking represent. Fuck them. That's what justice warriors like to say. Fuck you. I'll be back. Yeah, I'll be back. So who needs a foundation to be a justice warrior? Especially when half your family's been wiped out. By the do-gooders. By the do-gooders in society. Because it was the do-gooders. Tripping over my words here, aren't I? It was the do-gooders who benefited the most. Julian didn't benefit from murdering Shimei outside of he got to walk, and he knew he was going to walk because he'd been involved in a situation like that before, because I told you that cop cued him. Julian was waiting for the cue. I witnessed it. Then he thought he'd get a Mari and get a fucking done deal with the welfare check, as the cops would allow him to run around doing what Julian was doing, so that the cops could come in at a later date and scoop up on another dead body, because that's where all the money is. The cops are the do-gooders, but it's the cops that are the handlers. It's the cops that are profiteering off of the dead bodies. It's the cops that run the drugs in the community and allow the criminals to kill innocent human beings. Okay? Well, everybody's at the pub completely oblivious and don't give a jack shit, because as far as they're concerned, they're not the ones that it's going to have happen to them. If anything, a few of those people sitting in that pub or nightclub or wherever, fucking restaurant, I don't care where it is, they're going, well, I got all this money sitting in the bank, and if my kidney should go, I got connections where I just have to make a phone call, and it won't be within a week or two before I got my kidney, and I will pay for it. So therefore, they're going to sit silent and not care. That's what I don't like about Laura Lynn. Because she's got friends like that would be willing to pay for illegal organs just so they could fucking live. Because for whatever reason, they got that white superiority complex, you know? That white entitlement, you know, and Eleanor Gilding, right? Like those dirty cops and those dirty paramedics. Right? They got an entitlement mentality because, one, they work for the government, and two, they think they're more superior than everybody else, and because they're sitting on a whole lot of fucking cash, they think that when their time comes and God calls them, they can skirt and buy themselves some time by stealing other people's organs. And that's why Laura Lynn would never talk about what happened to my family, even though it's right in her own back fucking yard. That's it. That's what the foundation taught me. It taught me how selfish people really are. And how corrupt our government really is. And it took 22 years for the truth to come out into the light, where now you've got people going to the food bank that have absolutely no food security and are asking to be murdered by their government. Oh, what a fucking joke. Who would want to even do any kind of charity around that shit? Huh. No. I'd choose being a justice warrior before I'd invest my last few little years, I don't care, blind or not, I will invest my last few years in being a justice warrior before I'd put another fucking dime into the non-profit outside of maybe keeping up a stupid website. That's it. That's it. I have had so many fucking doors slammed in my face because of cats, because of this, because of that. Well, we already do. We don't need, you know, blah. We got 50 other organizations coming up behind you, in front of you first. We can't give you nothing. No. You're not the right color. You don't speak the right language. You don't eat the right kind of fucking food. I don't care what it is, people. It's like, fuck off. Fuck off. I hope you choke on that $40,000 for what it was worth. Yeah. Yeah. And they are. Many of them are. They're losing their businesses now. Investing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they're losing their businesses now. Even the big box chains are having to close down and readjust and fire people just to hang on to their quote-unquote profit. But they don't fight for justice. Nope. No, they don't. So that's where I'm at with the foundation. Yeah. I'm accepting my lot. I'm a justice warrior. You don't have to watch my videos. I don't care. I really don't. I'm going to keep talking on about illegal organ harvesting and how corrupt our governments are and who the real handlers are in the community, who run the the drugs, the fentanyl, the heroin, in partnership with that organized religion. And depending on your community, depending on what's around you in terms of that ethnic community, it doesn't take much to figure out who's organized when it comes to religion. You see, I don't need to go running to my government and asking them to kill me because I'm so depressed of what they've done to me and my family. Okay? Because I know what life and death is all about. One day you wake up and poof, you're gone and nothing moves except you. It's that fucking simple, people. Everything else is just a barrel of monkeys and one big adventure. Right? Serious. And I feel so sorry for these people that are begging to be murdered by a government that wants to murder them. Clearly. You know, if that isn't a fucking mental illness, I don't know what is in terms of government fucking workers. Right? And they get rewarded for it. All you have to do is look at Eleanor Gilding. Look at this doctor that injured Amari. Look at this judge that covered up all the fucking dirt just so they could protect the Attorney General's office. So they can go around murdering people and say, oh, well, they asked for it. That's what they wanted because they were depressed and they couldn't afford this and they couldn't do that. It's like, right? It's just, it's asinine. The whole situation is asinine. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm resolving to be a justice warrior. More than ever. Only I don't know how much I can fight for justice anymore because the government took me out when they made sure that my doctor told me to take him to court and I couldn't get an eye referral from anybody with their politics. I guess they were hoping I'd get depressed because I'm losing my eyesight and I'd be running off to ask them to kill me. Versus just waiting for it to happen because we know it's just a matter of time, right? Because that's how they operate. They can't sustain themselves unless they're hurting somebody else. That's basically the whole idea around it all. Anyway, so much for happy hour. But I had to just tell you what's going on, right? I'm not going to go around. I'm tired of groveling in the community asking them to help me to bring in a universal school meal program. To help restore schools that need restoration. To build in programs for families in the community, right? Because they don't need me. They just needed me to waste my money and put myself out there so that they could come and attack me, scandalize me, humiliate me, and target my kids and then harvest my kids. As they're plotting and scheming how they can get to Amari and harvest him, being that he's only got a life expectancy of 45 years. So, that's the reality of the world. Don't be fooled, for you youngins. Us older people, we know. We understand it more. We've been through it. We've seen it. Where the young people, I don't know, dumb and young. They don't have a clue what's coming. It's going to be a whole lot worse than what it's been, that's for sure. Yeah, like I said, they don't care that kids are dying since all this shit happened with the lockdowns and the experimental inoculations and all that, because they want the bodies, people. Yeah. Just like they wanted Shimei's body, people. They didn't just take her organs. They took her organs and they took her body, her skin. As in the whole thing. And I don't believe Sierra's in that coffin, in that tomb that they put her in. I don't believe it. Because they wanted her body too, because they were too quick to lure her to her death after they released her out of jail, because her body was clean and they knew it. And who was running the show? The handlers. Those big motherfucking cops. With their robotoid coroner that had a completely white face under exposure with her little motherboards in her hair. Yeah. Talking like that, you're not going to get too much support with your foundation, right? But I guess that's what justice warriors do. We talk about things that make people feel uncomfortable. And we come with the evidence. So, 3 of these jars. So that's good. I got a little bit of that fat. Right? In the freezer now. The crackling is good. And I've got the bone. With a little bit of that gelatin to add in extra. So after this is canned, I'll start stewing up that bone. And make some soup at some point, whether today or tomorrow, hard to say. Maybe I'll just cook it up tomorrow, because I've been resting, sleeping. I'm getting back into that sleeping thing. The longer I sleep, the worse it gets sometimes. But I'm so tired, right? Because it's not good for me, these eye drops. And I don't even know what it's going to be like come spring, summer, and fall when I'm working outside. It's even worse in terms of whatever I go through on a daily grind. So I might have to go for eye surgery. But of course this dude wears masks 24/7 while he's at work. I don't know what he does at home, but while he's at work, to which there are something like 28 doctors who have died across Canada because of what our governments are doing. But I guess those doctors signed up for suicide, right? They just made it easy on the government. Didn't cost the government anything. Whereas if I go to the food bank, I can just sign up for that, or at least get the connections where to go to sign up for it. And then the government might have to spend a little bit of money to do it for me. Who wants a foundation promoting a universal school meal program around that? Especially when your government's promoting freaking crickets and mealyworms and freaking spiders as dinner. Like, think about it. If this isn't a living nightmare, I don't know what is. Like, the world is sick. It was sick before, but it's sicker now. And I feel really, really sad and sorry for all those businesses that are going bankrupt. Because I've been bankrupt for years. Doing this nonprofit, getting caught up in all this shit, having my family targeted every few years, one member after another member after another member after another member, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, like, it's pretty rough, right? And then, you know, but I know what these businesses are going through as they're slowly but surely having to close down their doors, right? I know that loss feeling. Ugh. So whether they become justice warriors or victims standing in a food bank line signing up for assisted suicide after they get their little box of food that might feed their family for a week and nothing more and nothing less. I don't know. And you have to remember, okay, like this Trudeau dude should be fired for even allowing this to happen. But by allowing this to happen, people, he's allowing the immigrants that are coming into this country, whether they're wealthy immigrants buying up all the property, or whether they're the refugees, immigrants, regardless of what country they come from, because when they come 10,000 at a time and flood your community, literally, and they'll take up all the housing. They'll be at the food bank line. They'll be at the Christmas Bureau. They'll be, you know, they'll be wherever they, right? Because they're poor and they're refugees. And it doesn't matter if they're from Syria, Afghanistan, Ukraine. You know, it doesn't matter the color of their skin. It's the fact that they're being brought in, being subsidized, provincial, municipal, and federal, as well as tapping into all the local charities around them, right? Like, you know, they're not the ones trying to commit suicide here. Okay, because they're getting everything they need. It's families like mine that were born in this country that were basically poverty pimped and locked into that manufactured poverty for years, no matter how much money we dug into our own pockets to try and dig ourselves out or make a difference in society, right? So that we ourselves could be set free. Like, you don't see too many quote-unquote ethnic Canadians. In other words, immigrants that come into this country pushing back on assisted suicide. Because it only benefits them if I sign up to kill myself. It only benefits them if my kids get murdered. It only benefits... Right? Because, you know, Punjabi doctor harvesting eggs, selling them on the black market. Punjabi doctor harvesting hearts and livers and or whatever. United Emirate doctor harvesting freaking this and that, and then they sell the skin for, you know, their robotoids or whatever it is that they do with them, with their lizard people and shit, right? Like, you know, right? They're not gonna go off and kill them because they need them to gut us, people. They're not going to fight back. They don't have an ounce of warriorism in themselves. They don't. Like, you know, homeless people signing up to kill themselves. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? It's enough that the government's killing them out on the streets like they did with Sierra. We'll run them fucking ragged, pimp them out until there's nothing left. And when their brain is so damaged, they lure them to their deaths, and then they still fucking capitalize off of their stupid snuff movies. As they got the family standing out on the porch in the rain so she can hear us talking as they're literally sucking the life out of her. So they can get their adrenochrome. and their little video as they're walking down the stairs, smiling, doing their little hand signals to those dirty fucking cops. I'd like to see an immigrant talk about that. They won't though, because they got their hand out. If they're not targeting the elderly to steal their houses by locking them up in these fucking hospitals and then shifting them over into long-term care where they can never get out because they're under lock and key, right? You know what I'm saying? With their imitation doctors, seen it with John. Seen it with John. Running through the hall. He was cued that I was coming up the stairs to talk to John. He wasn't a doctor. He was an actor. He was stalling for time because everybody at the Sir Memorial Hospital was plotting and scheming how to steal John inheritance and ruin his family so they can come back later in and harvest the kids. Do you honestly think an immigrant's going to talk about that shit? No, because they're too busy at the food bank. They're too busy at the fucking Christmas Bureau. They're too busy moving into other people's houses, just standing by, watching us, our shit being thrown out into the road. If they're not watching us walk off to the clinic to kill ourselves. And then sit there and talk about those crazy white people or those crazy Canadians or whatever. Black people born in Canada. A lot of them don't like blacks any more than they like whites. Because for whatever reason, their religion makes them feel superior because they're Muslim. They hate Christians so much, then why the fuck are you sitting up in a freaking Christmas Bureau begging for toys? Like, I don't get it. Just saying. That's what justice warriors do. They talk about stuff that makes people uncomfortable and turns them, well, something. You know, you go red in the face, blush, right? Make you feel uncomfortable because you know what I'm saying is true. If you hate white people, you hate black people because they're Christian, and you seem to think that your religion is so much better, why the fuck you coming into a Christian country so you can take up over all the housing, take up all the fucking resources, and then go running your ass off once a year to the Christmas Bureau because you're so quote-unquote poor? But yet it's your kind buying up all the houses as you fucking kill off the elderly by putting them into old folks' homes so that they become locked into manufactured poverty as their money is being milked from them when they're not robbing and snatching up on body parts. Yeah. So who needs a foundation when you got those kind of problems? It took me 22 years to learn the truth, people. And the truth is, there is no universal school meal program. It's sign up to kill yourself because you can't afford to eat. There is no family program because when you get there, it's all overrun by a bunch of fucking immigrants that fucking hate you and don't want you to succeed in life. So why even try and think about them and give to them when they're just taking everything away from you? Who needs a foundation to help them? The government's already giving them everything that they need. Whether they're rich, buying up all the houses, or whether they're poor, moving into all the houses. As the government's taking my kind, if they're not killing us outright through murder, and then covering up that murder by any means necessary, even when it gets into court, they got you signing up for it. They got you signing up for it. They want you to sign up at the food bank to go kill yourself. And this is what the immigrants that come into this country support, because they don't take out the culprit. They don't fucking dismantle a corrupt government. As a matter of fact, they prop them up. And just like that dude over there at Debbie's house.
Women, miscarriage, stillbirth rates exploding worldwide.
I caught it on camera, people. That white van, well, hearse, didn't show up until it was after all said and done. There was only one reason why that vehicle was there, because they took out a body. As you got the cops out here running around telling people, oh no, he escaped. He wasn't there. Nobody can find him. He disappeared. Yeah, he disappeared. Damn right he disappeared. He was murdered that night when they came out with their fucking android fucking SWAT team. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Right? And people are completely oblivious as to what's going on around them. Yeah. They ended up gutting that house and they got it up for sale now. I told you that would happen. Yeah. You know, when I was young, drugs like cocaine and I guess speed, acid, mushrooms, that kind of stuff, right? It was like far and few in between, and the people that did that kind of stuff were like in little cliques and kept it to themselves within their own little groups. And, you know, they didn't try and recruit children into doing methamphetamine, which is a form of speed, right? Or to become crack addicts at 12 and 13 and 14 years old. And then normalize it, right? Normalizing it by making drug abuse as a normal part of society, like they do now, right? Like our government is so crafty in terms of how they crafted drug abuse to be a normal part of society, people. Like literally. You know? Just so that they can get those dead bodies. Right? And run that underground economy. And prop up their science experiments and that kind of shit, right? I only got 3 jars in here, so I have to like really keep an eye on this. I don't, you know, it fluctuates a lot when you've got less jars in the canner. And I don't like standing here for 90 minutes, but I have to, right? Otherwise, you know, you're going to get into trouble. So I still, after this, within a week or so, I'm going to go and do that fish, get that out of the way, and I'm going to, after that, do that other turkey, get that out of the way. I'll see what else needs to be maybe get out of the way a little bit. I want to put this thing away. I'm serious. Right? And the way things are going, I don't know. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this. Right? We can't actually identify you, so I guess we have to. But yeah, no, like I look back when I was young, like I never got exposed to cocaine until I was 25. People, there was people around me that would do it. I heard about it, I was aware of it, but they never approached me on it. People, they never said, "Here, try this." If anything, they protected me from it. Right? And the only reason I seen what it was about when I was 25 is because that's when I did that little gig when I fell off the mountain, rolled off the mountain. I was up in Port Alberni. I booked myself in for a week to dance, right? Because I wanted to know what it was like to be a dancer, because I was trying to get into making costumes, so I wanted to try it out just to see what a dancer goes through. So that I was hoping I'd be a better costume maker, right? And I booked myself in for a week and I was up in the mountains there And there's this blonde that had bruises all over, right? Because she was booting the shit. She was booting cocaine. I didn't know anything about it, though, right? I didn't, never seen what cocaine looked like, nothing. Like I said, there were people around me that were doing it, but they never offered it to me. They never tried to entice me to do it. Nothing like that. So anyway, when the time comes, end of the week, you know, I mean, for the first little while, she just, you know, she explained her bruises to be something else, right? And, you know, I wanted to get home because I was having issues with Sierra's dad, and, you know, I think my brother was living there at the time, and Brooks was at home, and that's when I had that townhouse, and or maybe I had rented out the room to somebody else. I don't know. All I know is I didn't want to wait till Sunday to take a bus back. And she was driving, and she was going to go to Victoria. And I asked her if I could catch a ride, right? And she says, yeah. I said, okay. So then, before we go, though, she says, well, hold on a minute. I said, you ready to go? She goes, yeah. She says, but I got to do something. I said, what? Oh, well, you know, I caught wind that she was going to do some drugs, some cocaine, right? And I said, well, can I see? Can I see what you're doing? She says, sure. So she took me into the bathroom. She turned on the tap. As soon as she turned on the tap, people, she started fucking getting high. Will never leave me. This is how I know they're addicted to the needle before they're addicted to the drug. Sierra just confirmed it to me. It got to the point it didn't matter what was inside the needle, per se, for Sierra, outside of putting the needle in her arm, thinking she was going to get whatever she thought she was going to get, when in fact that's not what she was getting. But she was so addicted to the whole process that, just like that chick, she turned on the tap, and as soon as she turned, I said, why are you turning on the tap? Because, you know, she had to cook it up, right? She needed water. But as soon as the tap went on, and then she just did whatever, and I'm like, okay. Right? Some time went by. You know, it's time to go. We talked, a couple hours went by or whatever. It's time to go, and I said, are you okay? Right? Like, to drive? It's dark now, right? We're going like 11 o'clock at night, right? Oh yeah, no, don't worry, I'm fine, you know. I said, yeah, but you just did that shit. She goes, oh no, it's okay, you know. And I'm like, I didn't know anything, people. I'm naive. I'm 25 years old. First time I ever seen anything like that in my life. Get into that little car. We're going down the mountain. Pass. Right? No lights. It's a highway. She started to fishtail. She's stepping on the brake. I'm saying, get your foot off the brake. She steps on the fucking gas. She yanks the wheel. Next thing you know, we're rolling down the freaking mountain. Told you that story. Right? Got to the bottom of the mountain. All the windows were smashed out. It's amazing I never lost my hand, because the car was rolling. So my head, you know, and I'm holding on, and all the windows smashed out. Right? We got out of the car. It was smoking. By the time we got up the hill, bloody thing blew up.
Innocent children in elementary school, or even younger.
Eventually, somebody called, you know, I guess 911. You know, as cars are going by, because there's a big fire, right? Down the mountain. Bunch of smoke everywhere, with a couple of girls running around out in the road, on the highway, in the middle of the dark, at midnight, or whatever it was. And cops came. They had us in the back seat, asking questions, you know, asking her questions, whatever, you know, who we were, where we're going, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. She asked me to get out of the car with her and go for a walk, just for some fresh air. She says, come, I gotta go. I just need to get out of the car for a few minutes. Come with me, she says. I said, okay. So I go. Next thing you know, she's got a handful of rigs. I guess they were all
injured bison running.
I don't know if they had stuff in them or not, but she had a handful and she chucked them into the bush.
That really is sort of the distinction here.
And
again, the
went back to the car. The cops kept her, but they released me, and because there was already people out there, you know, somebody offered me a ride back to Victoria, and I took it. And that's how I got home, by a stranger, after I almost died.
The only word that's appropriate.
So,
Perhaps not.
but the point is, I was 25 years old, and I'd never seen anybody snort coke. I'd never seen anybody smoke coke. Never mind shoot up coke. Right? Although I had been around people that had done coke. It's just they protected me from it. They never exposed me to it. They never expected me to participate in it. If anything, they didn't want me to. And for that, I'll forever be grateful. But it's not like that anymore, people. They are specifically targeting young people to do drugs, knowing it's just a matter of time before they come into contact with that fentanyl. And it's the only people that are benefiting from that is the public union sector and those private sector organized religions that are wheeling and dealing in body parts.
But I want to save that for the next segment because I have a couple videos I want to show from the World Economic Forum.
And that's why the government doesn't do jack shit about it. If anything, they normalize it. They normalize it. And they make excuses for it. And they encourage it. And they make it happen. Just like they kept Sierra out on the road for years and years and years, telling her she can't go home because if she comes home, they're going to come in and take the kids away from me. Because they wanted to keep her out there, strung out. And then they plotted and schemed how they could harvest her body where it was clean. And they did that 4 days after they released her from jail, as they kept her in isolation for months, even though she wasn't supposed to be in jail for months. You do the math. And I'm supposed to believe her body is in that tomb that they put her in, and they wouldn't even let us carry the fucking casket because they were afraid of COVID? Yeah, okay.
My mom was an elementary school teacher for like 20 years, and every single year, before the school year begins, every single teacher in every single public school district is required to go to these workshops.
So who cares about a foundation
version of the rules?
When you've got more serious problems in the world, because nobody cares about universal school meal programs, and if they do, the only thing they want to bring in is their bugs.
Every single year they get little updates that compel teachers in every single school district, all orchestrated and organized by massive NGOs, the very same ones that are censoring Twitter and, you know, training the FBI and doing everything else. They come into the education system.
So I'm going through that mourning process. I'm losing another family member here by seeing the foundation go off to the wayside and being replaced with. So yeah, I guess the battery ran out. So there you are, people. We're competing with bugs as people are going to the food bank signing up for, or asking where to sign up for assisted suicide in Canada because of the corrupt politics, okay? As the Canadian-born people are being replaced with a immigration population.